Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today we are going to go over a topic that everybody that I know, well everybody that I've met through the videos has been asked me to do, and it's going to be how to draw faces. Woo. And how I go about it, and how I break it down, and I'll show you guys how to make the different variations of your head shapes, and maybe hopefully with a little bit of luck you guys will actually learn how I do things, and then maybe you guys can apply it to your own designs. So let's get started. Well, first of all, I come from an animation background. So, and when I was starting to go to school and, learn about these things, I didn't really know much about structure or perspective or, human anatomy for that matter. I didn't really know much about it. And I would rely a lot on stylizing my designs. So, for the most part, when I started drawing, it would just be like almost anime-ish. So I knew that I had a jaw, and then I didn't know, the whole having to have like guidelines. No, I would just like eyeball some manga eyes, do triangles for noses, and then I would just do something like this. Now, probably much worse than this. Ears were just circles with little lines in them, and then it was always like super big manga eyes, and my hair would always be spiky because that's how I learned to draw. I would very often forget to draw eyebrows, and I had no concept of how to draw necks. So it would just be two lines, and the t-shirts would just be something like this. That's how I went into college. This is how I used to draw. And, well, probably much worse than this. But let's focus on how I do it now as opposed to what I did before. Well, whenever I am going to draw a face, if it's somebody that I see or somebody that I'm trying to come up with, then it's two different approaches. If it's something I'm just trying to make up, and let's say I'm just playing around with ideas, I always start with a sphere. And I'm going to show you guys how a simple sphere can turn into several different shapes. Okay? So if we take the sphere and we take into consideration that they all start with the same basis, this is going to be where the eyes are. Right? This little intersection, there should be about one, for a normal face, like an average face, there would be about one eye in between here and one eye in between the sides. These are just averages perspective, like average proportions for, comic book style stuff. So let's just assume that each one of them has roughly the same. Now from here, it goes down to the differences between what you want to achieve with this design. Let's say you want a super strong burly guy. So they would have super strong jaw lines. The face would just be heavily on the bottom side as opposed to top. If you wanted it to be like a smart guy, like a very nerdy guy, I would normally make like a big head and then make it very lanky on the bottom. Let's move this down a little bit so it doesn't conflict with the other stuff. No. No, move. Okay. Alright. Yes. Now, if we go to the other one, let's say I just wanted to have like a little kid, you know, the jawline is obviously not going to be as big as this one, and if it's just a smart kid, you tend to make the heads a little bit bigger, but you still keep it nice and round, and then you make the bottom of the head a little bit smaller. You would also make the eyes very pronounced. Well, we'll go into that in a second. So we have the bottom jaw and then the head. And then let's say just for Joe average, you know, for any Joe average, it would just be, you would kind of meet the jawline to where the circle is and then just even it out. So about the same on each side. So as far as just coming up with the random shape, that would be the case. You can also go in and start playing around with different ideas. This is what I do a lot when I just fill up entire sketchbooks, entire pages at least. I start with something like this, and then I try to develop a face out of each one of them. And I give myself these just for general idea, but I try not to limit myself to that. So with this one, I see this could be a nostril, maybe has a very strong chin, wrong way. And then he has very little lips, boom. And since I drew the face right here, it would be, I can do it like that. That would be an example of one of the faces. Just trying to push the shape, trying to come up with a really fine idea behind it. Let's try to do the rest as well. This one, for example, this one, I just see this being the nose. You know, so maybe not taking this into consideration as much, and then just moving that to the top. And when it comes down to doing shapes like this, don't worry too much about the perspective or this, like, you know, the anatomy of it. Right now, if you're doing exercises like these, it's more for fun, just so you can get an idea of maybe different head shapes. So you break out of your idea of what your head shapes are, because most people, after drawing the same thing over and over, they tend to do what I call stamping. And that would mean just going in and drawing the same stuff over and over and over so you get used to it. So that's your basic default. And that's what you end up drawing without even, you know, realizing it. So you end up just copying that same, you know, formula over and over and over. So for this one, let's try to make these some lips, because I just, for some reason, it just looks like big lips to me. It's going to be her cheeks. And then she's going to have super poofy hair. So lips, a nose, connects. It's her cheeks, I said. And sometimes you just have to adjust your lines, but they work good to have an initial template to go by. And right now we're not focusing on how the neck would connect. You know, for example, with this lady, it would be like right here. With this guy, it would be probably a really big neck, so it would be something big like this. This guy, maybe a little bit less. And let's say for this one, I don't want to do another bottom heavy person. How about we just make like a guy that's opening his mouth really big? So we're going to take these. We're going to take the relative size of the space in between. Have some ears. And then he's just going to be opening his mouth a lot. So he's going to have a nose. He's opening his mouth a lot, so he's going to have a very open expression. And And this is when perspective kicks in. You know, you can't just draw an open mouth and not have everything inside be relative to how this is. If this circle is pointing this way, then if the bottom jaw is opening, obviously there has to be some sort of perspective in. And then you do that with the teeth. You know, you don't have to draw lines or anything. You just have to make the teeth, make sure that they're going in. Same thing with the top. And then maybe even the Adam's apple. And then that adds a little bit of depth. Right? Okay. Well, those are some examples, but the first thing that I want you guys, you guys can have a lot of fun doing it like that. But if you guys want to actually progress and know why things fall in certain places inside the face, I would suggest that you guys start learning what is underneath, like drawing. Let's just draw a simple head right now, and then I'll show you guys what I mean. We're going to have Stan. Stan is your run-of-the-mill comic book character. He's just one of the background guys. He doesn't really do much. He normally just runs away from debris. Right? This is Stan. He is very basic. And he's just going to have a little sideways haircut because, you know, he doesn't really stand out too much. He does, however, have a job in accounting. And he has a girlfriend that's just as boring as him. So let's draw a girl. With girls, it's a little bit more finesse. I have a certain style that I like when it comes down to drawing women, and I tend to stick to that style, which just means the eyes are very pronounced. They normally have super knight-like eyelashes. The eyes are normally slanted upwards, and they have super strong eyebrows, because I like expressive women. Little pointy nose, and they tend to have nice lips, because nice lips are absolutely my favorite. Okay, and let's just give her like a little punk rocker hairdo. So shaved on one side, and then the hair comes out like this. I always liked punk girls, even though I don't think any of them like me, because I am the least punk person in the world. Okay. So now we have a guy and a girl. So now, what did I mean about knowing everything around it? Well, I'm going to try to explain it to you guys. Okay, so I drew these faces, and I drew them relatively fast because I know the underlying structure behind it. I know that the skeleton extends in certain places. There's cheekbones, like here, where the eyes are going to be, because I study anatomy, like to a certain extent. I wouldn't say that I spend all my waking time doing it, but I do study it once in a while, and it's helped me a lot. So now if we have these faces, we can, if we made a skeletal structure underneath it, it would look something like this. So we have the teeth, we have where the cheekbones are, the eyes, they're normally in the middle of the eye socket of the skull. Imagine the mouth extending up to there. The nose would be about here. That's where the base of the nose is. And then the bottom jaw, literally, it's just tracing that. Okay, so roughly that's what you would see if you looked at this guy's skeleton. I mean, it's a little off, of course, but it's a cartoon. But knowing this, if I took this skeleton, I could draw another face on top of it, and it would look similar to what the character is underneath. Same thing with the girls. You can just break down where all the features are, and you should be able to come up with a skeletal system underneath them that tells you why the lines are there. Okay, now if you turn off this, you get a skeleton. Now I'm not saying that you have to think about this every single time, but if you actually start with this side of the process, let's say we just draw a skull from the side, right? Okay. Have the skull, and then don't worry about the neck or anything. Right now we're talking just about skeletal systems. Okay, so now if we have that, what can we do with this? Knowing that we already have the basis of this, we can go in a ton of different ways. We could, let's make this into a kid. Let's go back. Okay. We know that the nose is going to be within those ranges. We know the mouth is going to be right here. So we already know where the lips are going to end up and where the chin is going to be. Ears are just at the end of your jaw. The neck will just be down. And I'll have to make a whole new section about necks, because it's probably the one part of the human head that cost me the most trouble how to learn. And when it clicked, it was just awesome. But I'll have to explain it to you guys in a future video. So we know the mouth extends in. We know if they smile, we'd have the cheekbones right here. So it could possibly key up this eye. Let's see. You know, the hairline would be around here. It cuts in. And then the eye has to be within this area, and this is where the eyebrows would be. You know, so we can have a little fun and just you know, now the hair can be pretty much anything you guys want. Let's just make like little curlies in the front into a parting hairline, and just finish it off like that. Okay, so that would be an idea of turning the skeletal structure into a guy. How about we make a girl out of it? Fuck it, why not, right? We're going to use the same structure. We're going to do the same thing. Lips, jaw, neck, then ears would be a little bit more finesse. Make them a little bit bigger. Let's add an earring. Why not? Because we can. Hair. Hair on girls is always fun. It's you can just go crazy with it. Let's say we have hair like that. And then eyes. Eyes for girls. You can go so many different ways with these. I like to study how other people draw eyes constantly, especially in girls, because it's the most appealing thing that you can draw. Like if you have a guy and you draw him, you know, super silly or super ugly, then whatever. You know, but if you can draw girls, oh man, you're going to get a lot of work from everybody. So it's a rough idea. You know, if you turn it off, we have the face, and if we turn it off, we still have a skeletal structure. Now, how do you take this and start coming up with different ideas? Because obviously you're not going to always want the perfect skeletal structure. Well, for this one, let's warp it a little bit. Okay, and then we'll see what we can do with this. Let's see. Transform. Okay. Transform, mesh transformation. Alright, so we're going to switch this up a little bit and see what kind of face we can come up with by just moving these around and then coming up with a different template. This would get more into the world of caricatures, but you're going to get an idea. So let's say we have that is our initial skeletal structure. What can we come up with this? Let's see. So we had that. Well, obviously, it seems like the nose is going to be the most pronounced area. So we can have a little fun and then just have super big nose. Right? You know the eye is going to be within this area. So if we make them lazy-eyed, but no, let's go a different route. Let's make them like slightly droopy-eyed. Then we have cheekbone, and then it seems like he has a strong jaw, and he's going to have little ears, and let's see, maybe an afro. Why not? So, also, this allows you to play with facial expressions a lot. Let's say if you want to make them sad, you know where everything is going to end up. You know where the muscles are going to be ended. So, you can do anything you want with it. Or if you want to, let's make it, so instead of being sad, you can be happy. Yeah? And then, you already know where the teeth are going to end up. The teeth are not going to change considerably since you already know where they're going to be. Yeah? There you go. Probably he would have a big neck. It seems like he would just have a really big neck. And then we said an afro. So let's just draw an afro. So that's one way that you can start learning how to do different variations in your characters. It certainly helps me to keep fresh and be able to do this. And I would suggest that you guys go ahead and pick up some anatomy books and such. Let's see, what else can I show you guys? Okay. When drawing the face, the eyes are very important to me. I love drawing eyes, and I constantly find myself just making entire pages of just different eyes. So I think it helps me refine the line work that I think needs to be, let's see, slightly smaller brush. It needs to be there for when I draw really quick videos. It needs to be quick, it needs to be fast, and it needs to be to the point. And I need to be able to show facial expressions really, really quickly. So you can go ahead and do these types of exercises. But what I want you guys to keep in mind is that eyes are not just lines. They don't just become like a trapezoid or a triangle like a lot of art books tell you. You need to start realizing that an eyeball is a circular shape as well. Inside of the skeletal structure, which would be the eyelid. Well, in order to draw more consistently in-depth eyes, you gotta take into consideration that you're going around this sphere. Your bottom lid, your upper lid, it's going around. And then also everything else inside is going in around that spherical structure. It's never just flat circles. And that's why I normally do a little bit overlapping lines. Normally, you draw the upper lids a little bit darker to indicate that there's an eyelid. If it's guys, you just do it like that. If it's girls, you can always add eyebrows or eyelashes. They don't always just go to the sides. A lot of people just draw some over here. But no, remember, it's just a circle. This is a sphere. So in a sphere, they would actually come in different directions. So if you draw both sides, they would be more like this than just going to the side. And once you start mastering little different parts of a face, then you're going to be able to mix and match them. So I recommend that you guys actually go in and start practicing different aspects of it, but always keeping into consideration the other parts of the body as well. So if we're going to draw eyes, make sure that you leave enough space for noses. If you're going to draw noses, which this is how I break them down for the most part. Here it's top of the nose bridge, sides, or the walls of the nose. Walls of the nose. Then you have the little, the ball of the nose. And then you have the wings of the nose. And then this is normally split up into two. You have the bottom part that has the nostrils, and then the upper part that normally has the little shiny part. And most noses can be broken down in that way. So if you have like a super big, monster nose, it would still have all those elements, even if it's not as pronounced. So if you just break it down, it would be something like this. And this it's going to help you in your shading and your lighting. Let's say you have a really refined nose. Well, it's like a little tiny piggy nose, like a model. It would be the same aspect, same thing. You have the ball, a little tiny shiny part. You have the underneath part that's shaded with the nostrils, the wings. And then, even though you wouldn't draw this too much because, girls have more finesse features, you would still have a circular aspect to this. It's a bridge. It's not just flat. It's not an anime nose. You don't get little tiny, little triangles and you call it a day. No. Let's see. We're not going to get it too much into skeletal structures within the jaws or anything like that. I'll save that for a caricature video that I want to do and help you guys learn a little bit more about that, because I think that's the easiest way to actually make money as a starting off artist. But for now, I want you guys to focus on the two or three parts of the face. It's going to be the initial section that's going to be broken down into a sphere, and depending on where your character is looking, if it's looking to the left, it'll be here. I want you guys to break down how the spaces in between each eye. Then it's going to be the jaw, depending on what type of character you guys want to design, and always keep a balance with the top. When I was studying caricatures, and I help train caricature artists all the time, we normally try to explain it like this. If you have a ball of putty, right, that's this, and you squeeze it in one section, let's say you want to squeeze it in this part, it would give you this, right? Now if you squeeze it in the middle, it's going to give you an equal distribution. 2, and you can say if you want to squeeze it in the bottom, it would be more like this. So one part always gets compensated for the other. If you want to make something with a really tiny head in the top, make sure that it has a nice balance in the bottom. If you're going to make something that's top heavy, make sure that the bottom is balanced out as well. Okay? And that goes with monsters, that goes with, if you have like a big monster and just trying to make a face. If you're going to put all the facial features up here, then you need to balance it out by having large features expanded on the bottom. So it would be like a large open mouth, or it could be just a really big, super big mouth, or it could just, literally be a character with a super long neck. But then this doesn't look as balanced as the other ones. It can be monsters, it could be a human face. You know, same concept. Maybe he has a big mustache. Yeah. Maybe he has a super big nose. And then the mouth is putting down. Stubble. So, let's see. What else? What other pointers do I have? When it comes down to drawing a human face, I think a decent solution would be to find a style that works for you. Like for me, my basic style, it always boils down to basic animation proportions. Yeah. And I do this when I draw myself all the time. You know, always make sure I keep perspective. Like this would be blocking this part of the nose. You know, I'm going to try to break it down a little bit. Have my mouth. I have facial hair, which is normally little zigzags. Bottom lip. Facial hair here. I have very expressive eyebrows, or so I've been told. So I normally make myself with a little like smirk. And eyebrows are pretty interesting too. Just little side tip. Treat them as a worm, or just a single line. So you have your face and you have your eyes. Right? If you treat them as a single element, and then later on go in and erase the middle, they will always be consistent, no matter how you change them. So you can come up with a million different expressions, like, and you always make sure that they're gonna fall in the right spot. Super angry. Okay, so hopefully that's a quick little tip. I'm bald. I have a little bit of hair, but I don't let it grow out anymore. Normally it's just little fuzzies. And then my eyes. The eyes that I like to draw are just similar to this. So I always start off marking where the top of the eye is going to be. And I normally go one eye at a time. Who am I kidding? See? Top of the eye, inner, this would be the tear duct. And then a little bit slightly thinner. Sometimes I don't even complete this bottom line, just to indicate a depth to it. Eyelid. And depending on how the brow line is, I'll add a little indication of the brow line. Same thing with the other side. As you can see, I'm not completing this side, because if you look at a sphere and you go around it, you normally don't see the other side of the eyelid. It would be like right there in the back. More so you just see the roundness of the eye. Disney does this a lot. Not necessarily why I started doing it. I just like that style. And I don't tend to do much like heavy detail work on the eyeballs. It's normally just black. Maybe black with a hint of a highlight. Just no, not like that. And that's normally how I'll keep it. And looks appealing, looks good, and looks clean. For a nice little, like, you know, simple style, it's pretty good. Glasses. I do have glasses. I'm blind. And then, you know, I would just take this and clean it up if I really felt like, you know, refining it. But just for a quick, simple sketch, that'd probably be something that I would do. Now, in later videos, I'll go into details like how the muscles of the neck connect, how proportions play a big part, and just basic, super basic anatomy that'll keep you guys from just having your characters look flat. I know I look a little naked in this one, but I'm just gonna give myself a t-shirt. And I made myself a little bit buffer than I normally am. But it's okay, because I am cool. Yeah. Oh, no, I can't even spell. Yeah, boy. Boop, boop. Alright, guys. I think I've bored you with enough information for one day. So, I'm going to say a big, fat thank you for always supporting and always making sure that I feel awesome for posting all these videos. I mostly do them not for self-gain or anything. I love teaching, and seeing as I probably won't have time to go get my master's degree, you know, this is a good way for me to actually get that out. And it seems like it's helping, you know, more than a couple people. So it makes me happy. It fulfills my need to teach and engage with, you know, people that are starting to learn how to do things. But I would really appreciate if you guys left a comment with what sort of things you guys want to see next. I am pretty proficient in most design programs. I am very, very proficient in photo manipulation, digital design, blah, blah, blah. You know, I can say my resume all day long, but I'd love to know what you guys actually enjoy. And if you guys can tell me all this in a comment or in a message, or, you know, just drop me a line in some way, form or another. You guys can always reach me on Instagram at Rodgon the Artist. And, or you guys can just message me here. I hope you guys learned something. I hope I taught something decent. And, like always, I said it again, thank you guys for everything, and I'll see you guys in the next one.